Let's bring in Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill. Madam Attorney General, thank you for joining us. What is your latest thinking on the security? I know you have said that perhaps another delay is in order. What can you tell us this morning?
Well, obviously, our first priority today is the safety of everybody in New Orleans while we kind of carry out and go through with this game. I did express some concern about that. I think that yesterday there were discussions about whether to have the game last night, which I frankly thought was absurd. We still had bodies that had to be removed from the ground and an open investigation to secure the crime scene. And so, it seemed to me that that was not a hard decision to make, even if the logistics of it might have been more complicated.
Madam Attorney General, the latest that we heard was there were more suspects that helped this gentleman carry out this plot. How do you have a game? How do you have any type of mass event when you have people potentially that contributed to this event that are still within the city or in greater Louisiana?
That's a very good question. I think that we have a lot of law enforcement presence in New Orleans. When I left there last night, all I could see were blue lights all over downtown New Orleans and the French Quarter. I know that the police have conducted a grid search of the entire area down in downtown and in the French Quarter and around the Superdome. So the governor has added 100 National Guard to that area to ensure that it is secure. But there's a lot going on. It's an active investigation of a crime scene after a terrorist event. And I don't think we could, it's not possible to take this too seriously.
Attorney General, I just wonder, are officials on the same page here? I sense that you're not ready for this game to happen today.
Well, they didn't ask my opinion about whether it should or it shouldn't, although I do have one. I think that, we certainly want to reassure people that we feel like they are safe in New Orleans. I think this is a very serious event. I would like to talk to the FBI this morning and to reach out. My priority this morning is to reach out to the Department of Justice and the FBI and make sure that they are giving top priority to this investigation. The special agent in charge in New Orleans is out of the country. That's the individual who has the most experience and knowledge about the city and experience with public officials in the city and in the state. So I want to make sure that they're taking this seriously and that they have put all of their best resources toward this investigation and that they are tracking these people down.
So, Madam Attorney General, if it was up to you, if they were asking your opinion and you were making the decision, would you postpone this game today, and for how long?
I would probably at least have postponed it till Friday. But, I think that they have secured the city and it's okay, I guess, if they're going forward with it, but I would probably have at least delayed it.
It feels like you don't feel comfortable about this.
Well, I was there while, I was down out at the scene. There's a lot of law enforcement presence in the entire downtown area. I do feel like the city is secure, but we have 16 people who are dead. Their families are grieving. We have at least 10 more that are clinging to life in the hospital. And I think that there's a certain degree of respect that we owe to the dead and to their families and the victims, and to acknowledge and recognize that this is an open investigation into a terrorist event.
So, Madam Attorney General, I want to get back to the investigation. Do we have any shots of the people that were potentially involved in this? Do y'all have any video of that? And what about the people that were questioned by law enforcement that you guys decided to release? What do we know about their status right now?
Well, to be clear, the FBI is in charge of this investigation. And so, the information that we have received is coming through the FBI. I have not received a lot of information from them. Yesterday, the priority was securing the scene and responding to the immediate area, making sure that it was secure. You guys have recognized already there are thousands of people right now in New Orleans. The hotels were full, and it's a complicated situation to manage. So I think it is, the one upside I think of going ahead and having the game is that those folks are going to go ahead and leave after the game is over, and that's going to make this easier.
Madam Attorney General, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to get a clear answer. The FBI has not updated you on the people that they released from custody that they interviewed yesterday to tell you if this is credible?
No.
That's unbelievable. Right. You're the Attorney General of the state, and they haven't given you any information on people that could have been involved with this? Are they stonewalling you? What's happening there?
I think that, again, it was a fluid situation yesterday. A lot of public officials all kind of wrapping their arms around the situation as it happened early in the morning. So I'm not ready to say that I'm being stonewalled, but my first priority this morning is to reach out to them and make sure that they are communicating with me and that they are updating me on the current status as it's happening. And I want reassurance that we have the top people in charge on the ground in New Orleans.
Could more have been done in advance of this attack to have prevented it, do you believe?
I don't think there's ever an event like this where we don't look back on it and say, could we have done more, and potentially identify ways that we could have done more. My first question, I know the governor's first question as we went into New Orleans yesterday morning after waking up to this was to ask what kind of bollards, what kind of positioning and was placed at the front of Bourbon Street, So I think everybody is rightfully asking those questions, but I can also tell you that there are thousands of people in New Orleans, probably from January through March, and the streets are always full. There are parades almost every single day. So, could they have secured that area better? Probably so. Were there other soft targets in areas where this individual could have hit multiple people? Yes, the answer to that would be yes.
Madam Attorney General, if I heard you correctly, I believe you just said that there were 16 dead. We have been given the official number at 15. Do you want to clarify that?
Well, I know that they confirmed yesterday that we're 15. I have heard the number 16 as well. So, I'll stick with 15 until we hear otherwise. But yesterday, the number was a little bit fluid. The coroners have not confirmed some of the numbers. The numbers that I was seeing coming out of the hospital suggest that it might be 16.
Madam Attorney General, I want to get your comment on the Tesla Cybertruck that exploded outside of Trump International in Las Vegas. Apparently, the suspect in that case used the same app that the suspect used in New Orleans. Have you had any communication with your counterpart or the FBI on that? Is there a link that you can tell us about this morning?
I don't know whether there's a link to the two. Obviously, it is very suspicious, and that raises even more concerns. At the very least, it raises concerns about the use of this app and whether it is a means of coordinating or carrying out terrorist kinds of events. So, I think that there are a lot of questions that we all have and that we all need answered, and we need them answered sooner rather than later.
Sounds like you are awaiting some of those answers as you await contact with some of those federal authorities in charge, and we hope to get more answers in the next couple hours as well. Madam Attorney General, thank you very much for joining us.